Invincible season 2 has now finally come to an end, and that finale was spectacular. I was blown away. So now let's do a full in-depth spoiler discussion on season 2.
Whatever ever hurt my family?
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. If you are new here, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We're growing on the road to 600 subscribers. But yeah, as I said, we're going to be talking about Invincible season 2 here, spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the newest episode, which was the finale that just aired today, make sure to go check out on that, and then come back here and watch this video because I'm very excited to talk about this. Because as I said in the intro, that finale was amazing. I was blown away. I stayed up all night. I haven't stayed up all night to watch a episode of Invincible for the longest time since season 1, but I stayed up until it's 1 a.m. drop time. A terrible drop time. Come on, Amazon, let's not do that drop time for the boys. I think that drop time has gotta go somewhere else. It just doesn't work. But yeah, let's talk about the plot. This season mostly dealt with the aftermath of the finale of episode 1, with Mark's dad, Omni-Man, leaving Earth. In the first part, that's what the first part of this really went about. Because yeah, this season was split up into two parts. First part happened in November, which is November, which was many months ago, and then the second part, of course, happened March through the beginning of April, which we are now. The second half of the season was basically more focused on Mark as his own, because he's now on his own, and the slow build-up of Angstrom Levy. And I always get his name wrong. Angstrom Levy, Angstrom Levy. I'm gonna say it differently. I always forget how to say it. I'm just gonna say Levy. I think that's how you say it. I always forget how he says it in the show. I swear I hear it differently in the show too, but I'm just gonna call him Angstrom in here. I think that's a little bit easier. But to preface, I have not caught up to this point in the comics. I only really, when I picked up all three comics, I only really read up to the end of season 1. So all this new season 2 stuff is all new to me, and I don't even know, all this I went into blind. I need to really get caught up on the comics though, because I've heard it's really spectacular what happens in there, and I've heard it just gets crazier and crazier because it's already been getting crazier since season 1. So I really need to get back and start reading the comics again. And I'm going to talk about part 1 just for a little bit. This is going to be mostly a spoiler review on the finale though, so don't worry, I'm going to get to that. But I do want to talk about part 1, because that was pretty divisive to split this into two parts. And I will say, I wasn't the biggest fan of the first 4 episodes, and the mid-season finale didn't have me speechless like some other people. Some other people thought episode 4 of this season was like terrific. They thought the mid-season finale was like, gangbusters, and I was like, I didn't really see the hype in that. I thought it was a good episode, but just it didn't really leave me really wanting more. I didn't see the point for us to have like a 3-4 month break after that finale, because it just didn't feel like anything, worthy of a big cliffhanger, big cliffhanger mid-season finale. It just seemed like those first 4 episodes were really moving really slow, and I didn't really see any development happening in there. And I really think that they could have fit all those, all that story into maybe 3 episodes or just 2 episodes. I thought that they tried to really, shrink, they tried to expand that into 4 episodes when I think it could have been shrunken down into like 3 episodes at most. And I think that the best part of the first half though was Angstrom, Sterling K. Brown as Angstrom, our main villain, because we all knew what we were going into. We all know that we were going to get him and he was going to become a bigger threat. But I wish, even though I did love him in his performance, I wish we got more of him, because it just shows in the season 2 finale how great Sterling K. Brown is as this villain. So I wish we got a little bit more of him, because he was just exploring the multiverse throughout most of the season, because I think that's what the first half lacked. We saw him in like the first episode, some of the second, and then we kind of lost him. So I wish we did get more of Angstrom in here. And I personally think that the 2-part decision was a massive mistake by the creators and Amazon, because I think it killed a lot of its momentum this season and the hype that the show already had, because it had a lot of hype going into it. But it also had a lot of, annoyed fans. I mean, I can kind of say I was one of them, because they took a long break after season 1. Season 2 finally got released, after almost 3 years after season 1. And I get it. I get it. They even had a scene in here where they said animation takes time and all that. But I think that they took a massive break after season 1 and do some massive writing on season 2 and 3. So I do get it. But it just took a very long time. So once we got the news that we were only going to get first 4 episodes and then we had to wait, we were very disappointed, because that's just a lot to ask for. Because TV shows these days are kind of ridiculous when it's only like a 10-episode series, or 8 episodes like Invincible. So you shouldn't be taking mid-season breaks. TV shows back in the day on like cable and all that, they had like what are they at, like 24, 22 episode seasons, and they did take a mid-season break, because they had 12 episodes, and then 12 other episodes. It's not like 4 and 4. They had like 12 and 12. That's kind of like what The Walking Dead did. So it just doesn't make sense for an 8 episode show to have a mid-season break. I just didn't think that was really strong of them. And your first 4 episodes aren't that strong, so it just makes the 4 month break feel even longer because it's not as strong as the second half. So some people didn't even care to come back when the show did come back for the second part. You had a lot of people not even talking about it anymore. It took a couple more weeks, to get the hype back. Probably on episode 6 is when we did get the hype back. Episode 5, a lot of people weren't even tuning in because a lot of people forgot that it was coming back and all that. So I think that when they do season 3, which is going to happen hopefully sooner than season 2 happened, don't do a mid-season break. It just didn't need to happen, and I think it's just a major mistake on the marketing team and how they were going to plan it out. I just don't think it works in the story also. That being said, though, I thought the second half of season 2 was so much better than the first half, and I thought it was just so well done. It brought me back, loving the show like I did in the first season. The first 4 episodes, I didn't hate it. I thought it was good, but I think that the show should always be constantly great like the first season was. I think the first season, every episode was constantly great to amazing, and that's what the first half lacked here, but the second half brought it back. It brought it back. They had so much more character development, so much more action. And the pacing was much better with these new episodes. You had so much more going on in each episode. And I love the first episode back when we finally had Mark reunite with the team. And of course, that epic cliffhanger with like Rexplode, Duplicate, Shrinking Ray, just getting the shit beat out of him, and all of them just almost died. So you had a little bit of cliffhanger. You think some of them died, and Rex has to basically own up and be the true hero. And he got like his hand eaten off, and he got shot in the brain, but he does come back and he does end up, getting the job done. And the character development for Rex in season 2 was probably one of my favorite parts of the show. Jason Mantzoukas really does nail that character, really does love his humor is great. He's a hilarious actor. So I thought he nailed that. I'm happy that Rex got some more character development this season. And you had Anissa show up, which, she's from the comics and all that. I liked her appearance when she just started beating the shit out of Mark, and Mark's like, I gotta handle this myself. He really couldn't do it himself. And I heard that she does, some stuff differently in the comics, which I'm going to have to check out because I'm interested to see what, different things happen with her and Mark in here, because I've heard, they have like a relationship or something. You got to let me know down in the comments. But I heard her appearance is a little bit different in the comics, but I did like seeing her here. You had the kind of emotional scene. What was it, episode 7, where Amber and Mark broke up, and I think that scene was handled really well. But I kind of feel bad for saying, when that scene happened, I was like, they finally broken up, so you can get Mark and Eve together, because I've been waiting for that, because I think that's the better relationship. I think every Invincible fan thinks that relationship is better, because Amber was written terribly in the comics, but in the show I think she's written a little bit better, and I think Zazie Beetz brings a lot to her character through her voice, so I did like her performance there. But that scene was handled very well. I thought it was very emotional. But we finally got to it. Let's talk about the finale. As I said, I was really excited for. Stayed up all night for this, and it lived up to the hype. Let's just say that. Sterling K. Brown, he is of course back now in the season finale, holding Debbie and Oliver hostage, and Angstrom as Angstrom, and he's a truly terrifying villain in this episode. Like, this is just comes around as me saying I wish we had more of him in here, because he did so well with his performance, and Sterling K. Brown knocked it out of the park in anything that he does. But man, he was terrifying. I can't look at Angstrom for that long because his head is just. Anytime they do a close-up on his face, I'm like, he's nasty. But Mark did that to him, so I guess we gotta blame Mark for that. But Angstrom starts sending Mark to different dimensions and all that, because he has that power. And I was like, man, that's kind of overpowered. You're just sending him different dimensions. You're not really fighting him. And we finally did it. He got sent to a dimension where Josh Keaton actually showed up as Spider-Man, not in his normal suit, but as an agent Spider-Man, kind of like a different Spider-Man. I don't know if there was like a rights issue, so they couldn't do the full spectacular Spider-Man, but it was so cool to see him in there. Some people didn't think it was going to show up. I had hope, and I was right. Josh Keaton did actually show up, and he actually, a little bit of Easter egg, he actually did play the jogger in the beginning of this episode. So Josh Keaton had 2 roles in this finale, so good for him. I actually love seeing him here. And then Angstrom sends Mark into many different universes. It's a truly multiverse episode. I love seeing multiverse things happen, and it's actually done right. Then we can just look back on Doctor Strange 2 and be like, that was not a multiverse movie. It's literally called Multiverse of Madness. They go to 2 different dimensions. Mark gets sent to like 4, 5, 6 different dimensions. You see evil versions of Mark, which were crazy, and it kind of makes you scared of what, this Mark, our main Mark, could have been, could have become. And that is a freaky thought. He just a mass murderer. We saw a Batman universe. Yeah, it would have been crazy if they would have showed Batman and it was like a voice actor from one of the previous roles. I would have freaked out. But of course they didn't, because they really don't have the rights to do that. And I'm pretty sure we saw the Walking Dead universe, which was pretty cool, because Kirkman, who wrote the Invincible stories, did write the Walking Dead comics also. So that's really cool. Then you had Angstrom back in Debbie's house. She snapped Debbie's arm. I was like, what the heck? This guy is insane. He's a true menace to society. And then man was just throwing Oliver around. Like, man, calm down. Oliver is just a toddler, a purple toddler. I thought Oliver was about to do something, but he's just there crying. And I'm like, I get it, bro. It's a stressful situation in that house. But he's just throwing him around, and then we finally get Mark versus Angstrom, and Angstrom has, leveled up, and he's, fighting Mark a little bit. And then they go to this one dimension where it's like a wasteland, and, Mark finally breaks, and he starts beating the shit out of Angstrom, and he doesn't stop until he's covered in blood, kills Angstrom. You don't even get to see him because of how badly he beats him up. And he says the famous line, "I thought you were stronger." And Mark is truly terrified and traumatized after what he did, because he's covered in blood, just beats this guy to death. And that's not what Mark is. That's not what Mark is trying to be throughout this whole season. He's trying to find himself, trying not to be like his dad. And he's stuck in this universe. He doesn't know how to get out. But then a portal opens, and out comes, older Eve and members of the Guardians of the Globe, which are older, 20 years older. I think that's what they said. And Rex was in robot suit, which surprised me. I don't know if in the comics they explained, so why was Rex in robot suit and where is actual robot? I didn't actually understand that. I need someone to explain that for me down below in the comments. But that was weird. But Eve, though, Mark starts to leave it. Eve goes to Mark and says she loves him and all that, and tells Mark to talk to the present day Eve about them, them having a relationship and all that. And I was like, we're finally gonna get them together. We're finally gonna get the actual Mark and Eve together. We'll wait to talk about that. And then we have a scene where Duplicate finally comes back, because I got spoiled that she wasn't actually dead. So she comes back and reunites with Immortal. I like their relationship a lot, because I think it gives Immortal more humanity, because I didn't really like Immortal. But that relationship I think is interesting. And then that damn mummy comes back from season 1. You remember that mummy all the way from season 1 comes back for a little funny gag. I love how the mummy didn't really mean anything. It's just a stupid gag, but I thought it was pretty funny. And then there's one specific flight sequence of Mark really having a big breakdown after what he just went through, which makes sense. Man went through a lot. Anyway, I think that that one sequence, that one breakdown was handled really well, and excellent animation and flashbacks in that scene. And then for our final scene of the season, Mark meets with Eve, and it made me pissed off, because what Mark did, we thought we were gonna get Mark and Eve finally together, have their first kiss and all that, but Mark really did bitch out. This man really bitched out. We get your emotional Mark, but come on. Come on, Eve is there for you. She's even giving you hints. She's hinting at you all the time. But man, I really was like mad at him right there. I was like, bruh, you gotta own up and say something. You had the older Eve literally tell you to say something. You gotta say something. But I mean, I guess it just means that in season 3, it's actually finally gonna happen. But we all know it happens in the comics, so it's gonna happen eventually. So that was the last scene of season 2, which kind of caught me off surprise. I'll talk about that in a second. Then we had the post-credit scene with Alan and Omni-Man, of course, talking. So you're gonna have something happen with them in season 3. But yeah, I was surprised it didn't end on more of a cliffhanger. So I have no idea what's going to happen in season 3. I got to read the comics. I have like a year to read it, so I'm not really worried. I'm definitely going to get caught up. But yeah, I'm surprised it didn't end with a cliffhanger on who the next villain's going to be. I really don't know. I guess the next villain is probably that one Viltrumite guy that was beating the crap out of Omni-Man and all that. And they've said that we're not going to have to wait as long for season 3, so hopefully we get it in 2025. I'm really hoping. But man, this finale really amazed me. I think it's my second favorite episode out of the whole show, but the season 1 finale is still my favorite. But these finales, they're really killing it with these finales. I gotta give it to them. But overall, Invincible season 2 really was a great, amazing show. It started off really slow with a lack of character development for me to really care, but once you got to that second part, it really did hit the gas and started to get really amazing. Steven Yeun, of course, nailed it as Mark. His voice, his performance and his voice role is terrific, especially in that finale. Sterling K. Brown gave a terrific performance as Angstrom in the finale too. Some amazing action. There's amazing animation work. Very proud of what they're doing on this show, and of course, we're getting season 3. It was already greenlit, so hopefully next year, but I cannot wait. Invincible season 2, I'm going to give it a strong 8.5 out of 10. I really did think it was great. It would have been higher if the first 4 episodes of this season were, better. We're on that amazing tier like the second half of the show, but still, I thought it was a great season. I thought it was handled well. But let me say this, season 3 better not have a mid-season finale or mid-season break. We shouldn't do that. I just don't think that works at all. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my spoiler review of Invincible season 2. Let me know down below your thoughts on this season. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know down below. If you did enjoy my review though, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.